When he left the football and soccer fields of Oakville Trafalgar High School for the last time, Steve Christie had no idea what fate had in store for him. Christie, born in Hamilton but raised in Oakville, made his way south to the United States to attend William and Mary University in Virginia. Steve played both soccer and football, but it was football where he achieved great success as a punter and field goal kicker. Christie recorded 279 points, second on the school's all-time scoring list. In 1988, he was an All-American honorable mention, and in 1989 was named a first-team All-American. Christie's National Football League career took him further south to Tampa Bay, where he played 2 seasons. He hit 23 of 27 field goals and was successful on all 27 point-after tries. However, his National Football League career was about to take off. In 1992, Steve became a member of the Buffalo Bills. He would soon become both a fan favorite and one of the most prolific scorers in the league. Christie was a key contributor to the Bills' comeback win over Houston in the 1992 playoffs. As his team rallied from a 35-3 deficit, Christie recovered his own onside kick, becoming the first kicker in history to do so in a playoff game. He then booted the game-winning 3 points in overtime. He would add 5 field goals in the Bills' 29-10 win over Miami in the AFC Championship game. In 1994, Christie set a team record by booting a 59-yard field goal and also kicked the longest field goal in Super Bowl history, a 54-yarder against the Dallas Cowboys. After the 2000 season, Christie joined the San Diego Chargers and played 3 seasons. During his time in San Diego, Steve was honored by William and Mary University by his induction into the school's Hall of Fame. Steve Christie holds numerous Buffalo scoring records. Most career points, 1,011. Most points in a season, 140. Most field goals in one game, 6. Most field goals in one season, 33. Always aware of community responsibilities, Steve donated $300 for each successful field goal to Camp Good Days and Special Times, a New York State charity providing an arts and crafts experience to needy children. He also volunteered as a camp counselor. Christie resides in Ellicottville, New York, with his wife Kelly and children Claire, Grace, Alexi, and Kira. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome 2007 inductee and honored member, Steve Christie. Steve's award is being presented by Jamie Campbell, and Jamie asked if he could say a few brief words.
You don't bring the voice of the Toronto Blue Jays and expect him to sit down, so here's Jamie Campbell.
Hey, now, I'm being a little selfish here in wanting to say a couple of words about Steve, but I hope you'll bear with me. When you grow up in Oakville and you're a sports fan, as we were, you kind of hope that one day you're going to walk down Lakeshore Road and run into Vic Hadfield or Larry Kane or Maria Otto or someone who has made your town somewhat famous. And never in a million years did I think when I was holding footballs for Steve at Post Park would he ever be in a position like this. I wanted to take this chance to publicly thank Steve, in fact, for allowing not only me but several friends of ours who couldn't be here, Chris Froyo, my brother Andy, members of his family who could not attend, for allowing us to be part of his experience. I can speak from a personal standpoint of having been at those Super Bowls and been at that playoff game against Houston, because Steve was part of it and allowed us to be part of it too. He's obviously here to be honored for his achievement as an athlete, but in my mind, Steve is a greater person than he is an athlete, and I, for one, am very grateful for that and for his friendship. So it looks like we're inducting Rob Roy here. We're not, in fact. This is Steve Christie. Congratulations, Steve.
Thank you, Jamie. You'll bring me to tears, and certainly not the first time. Jamie and I both attended Oakville Trafalgar High School, and even though it's a rugby school, or known to be a rugby school, I didn't play. And even though I'm here as a football player, I only played 2 years there. So my real credits, first of all, go to my upbringing in soccer. I started at a young age, at about 4 years old, got in the house league, and my first coach was Gary Williamson, and really fell in love with the game. And from there, Don Weeks and Jerry Cairns took, I think they called us the Shelley's. That was the old restaurant down there by the Oakville Club, sponsored our team. And after a trip to Mexico, I think we were about 7 or 8, I realized that soccer and athletics was sort of something that I wanted to really get into. And along the way, Jerry Cairns has passed on, and another great coach that I had, Hugh Thompson, also in the Oakville system, has also passed on. But from then, or from those gentlemen, and Tony Taylor with the Canadian junior team, Frank Donlevy, these soccer coaches really, although it wasn't football specific, they really brought out the athlete in me. And you know, you're born with something. You're blessed with abilities and talents, but until someone can nurture it and develop it, sometimes in many cases it's wasted. My soccer upbringing in Oakville is very much responsible for my career in the NFL. And it goes without noting, too, that I spent a lot of time at the Oakville Club playing badminton. And I guess a lot of people don't know that, but my coach, John Gilbert, was also an integral part in my development as an athlete. I was very fortunate that my gym coach and high school coach at OT approached me and said, look, we don't have a field goal kicker. If you wouldn't mind spending some time, could you come out and kick for us? And I was like, no, I'm too busy. I'm playing soccer. That's what I want to do. And he says, well, if you practice once or twice a week and show up to the game on Friday, we'd really appreciate it. So who knew? A couple of years at OT worked out pretty well. But down in the States, if you want to get a scholarship, you have to be on film. Well, I went to the old OT where during our games, people would walk their bikes through the end zone, and we'd probably have 20 people there maybe, and you know, it wasn't a big deal. So I went down. I was fortunate enough to get some film of our final game, the Halton Championships at Ivor Wynn. And for us, that was a big deal. We were undefeated that year, and a lot of good players, a very good group of guys to play with. And from there, I think, you know, I kind of learned that, hey, football may not be a bad way to go, and that's pretty much when I packed up my soccer cleats and pursued the football thing. I was fortunate enough to go to the College of William and Mary, where we had 12,000 people at our games, and so you go from 20, 300 for the big games to 12,000. That was a big step. And my first game, we were playing Colgate, and I was lined up for a punt. I was so nervous that the snap went through my hands, hit my helmet, and I turned around, grabbed the ball, and a guy from Colgate already had my jersey, so I punted it left-footed 11 yards, and that was the beginning of my illustrious career. So I always tell everybody things can always get better. But I was very fortunate to have good coaching there, and at the end of my career, college career, I was drafted by the Edmonton Eskimos. Hugh Campbell took a chance and drafted me, but I told him, I said, look, economically, let me just give me a shot at the NFL. Who knows? I might be able to get in somehow. Even if it's a ball boy, I'll probably make the same amount of money. So we'll give it a, sorry, Dan. I'm sitting next to Dan Ferrone, by the way. I'll just say that's my only joke. But I took a chance down there in Tampa, and I was very fortunate to basically get in the door. And first game against the Detroit Lions up in Detroit, Jamie was there. I just sat in my locker, and I was so nervous that even the head coach came over and said, look, it's okay, everything's going to be fine. And I think once the game starts and you get in there and you start doing your job, you sort of forget about it. And it was good until my first home game. And a lot of people didn't really know who I was, obviously coming from a small school, coming from Canada. And we're playing the LA Rams, which goes back a ways, but this is 1990. And in front of the home crowd, I missed a 32-yarder. So I learned right away that resilience is very important in the NFL. From then on, though, I picked myself up and said, okay, let's make a go of this and see what I can do. And along the way, I was able to play under Marv Levy, who, bar none, was the greatest coach that I've ever had any experience with. And because of his attention to special teams, certainly kept me in the league a long time. And even Rob Zomner was saying there that you play long enough, you start fooling them. They start to actually think you're good. you start putting the years behind you. But I'll tell you, I was fortunate enough to play 15 years, but it went by so fast. It just it's almost like a fleeting moment. But the people that I've met along the way, and the camaraderie, and it was just a great ride. But I think the big thing to be noted is that there's not too many Canadian boys that make the NFL, and it was a tough road. But again, it all went back to my coaching here. And not to be too long-winded, and before I get the hook, it's not Jamie's job, but I am very honored to accept the award. And again, it's great to come home. Thank you.
Thank you, Steve and Jamie.